This is part 4 of the Flowerhorn series. I'm going to be talking about not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 cichlids that the Flowerhorn derives from. First, I'm going to do a little recap. The Flowerhorn is a man-made fish that was developed in Malaysia and Thailand back in the early 90s, possibly the late 80s. Alright, they first came over to the States probably in about 2000-ish, late 90s, 2000-ish. They've been re-released into the wild in Singapore and Australia, to the point where they have now become an invasive species. They're actually banned from ownership in Australia because they're such a problem. Blah 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 blah. Alright, there's roughly about 10 variations of the Flowerhorn. The Zinzal, the golden monkey, the Compa, the king Compa, Vader. So they're all very varieties, derivatives of each other. I didn't realize how complex these fish really were when I first learned about them, because I don't think I really saw them here. Unless you were like really deep into the aquarium trade, but like for the most of my fish stores and stuff, and I mean, unless you're like in a fish club or something, I don't think they were kind of hard to find. And if you did, it was probably just like a Zinzal, and it was probably just at some random pet store. Alright, I'm going to get into the 4 cichlids that they come from. First is the Midas cichlid. I'm not going to get into too scientific with it. The red devil, the vieja, and the 3-spotted cichlid. Basically, these fish are very similar, either phenotypes or their pheno and their genotypes, meaning they are closely related, even though they're different species. Like within the viejas, there's 8 species of vieja. I know there's a couple species of the devils. There's like, I think there's a green devil too, because they do come in green. Some are pink or red and white. They're usually red and white, and they got black spots. Viejas, they can come in like the black belt, a red head, a 2-band. And I think there's a couple variations of a 3-spotted or a trimeculum cichlid. But roughly, these fish come from the San Juan River in Mexico to Nicaragua from volcanic crater lakes. Like slow-moving water, a muddy sandy substrate with smooth river rocks, a lot of outcropping trees, a lot of vegetation to hide in. They're omnivores, but they mainly eat small fish. It's a very male-dominant species amongst all of them, meaning that the male, when they sexually mature, they grow a cock or a knuckle hump on their head as a sign of dominance and masculinity, like a they're very powerful. They have very sharp teeth, because you don't want to get bit by one of these guys. Really aggressive, especially when they're mating. They mate usually on smooth river stones, where they lay about 1,000 eggs, where they're good parents, and they defend the nest. And he takes about a 4 to 5 radius around the nest that he guards, and they actually protect the young when they're growing. So they're good parents. The females range about 9 to 10 inches, depending on the species. Males usually about 14 to maybe 17 on the big. again, when you're keeping these fish, probably the bigger the system, the better. You can get away with keeping them about 55 gallons, but you should probably keep them at least at 150 minimum if you want to get like a good aggressive male with a big knuckle hump. There's things you can do if you really want to go for that, but one thing that I really wanted to talk about with when I was saying they come from, you know, parts of central Mexico down into South America, that they have a very small range, and the kind of controversy with these fish is that you're keeping a highly complex species of fish, meaning that it comes from a very small area, a very small range with a very complex genetics, and you're now keeping them in your home aquarium in the trade. And what's happening is people in Florida, with the flowerhorns in Malaysia and Singapore, I see with the 3-spotted cichlid in Nevada and Florida that they're being re-released into the wild, and this is not good, especially for wild populations and the environment in the ecosystem in those areas. Like in Florida, people are always catching wild Midas and flowerhorns. I mean, they catch a variety of wild caught aquarium fish there. But you're taking a highly complex species and you're hybridizing it, and I can see where a lot of people be very upset about this, especially I didn't know about this personally before really researching it as much as I did, and kind of getting the awareness of these fish out there, I think is kind of going to be a big thing too about these, because they're kind of sold. I knew stuff about them, but when it was sold to me, it was kind of like they're an easy fish. You keep them at 55. They can take a higher pH level. You don't need a whole lot of flow. They're just kind of sold to you as like a great beginner fish, and same with the Midas and the Red Devil. But they just like, you just got to keep them in a tank by themselves, and they do okay. But yeah, I just want to hear what you guys have to say about that. Keeping fish like this. Should we be keeping fish like this? Kind of like the same argument with blue tanks in the saltwater hobby. Should we be keeping some of these fish, especially wild caught fish and hybridization of fish? It's kind of made me rethink on look at fish keeping on a whole, but I kind of feel like this is kind of part of it, and this is something we all need to talk about in the hobby. So it's mainly this whole video and this whole thing was just kind of disrupt that conversation and kind of get people to talk. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear what you have to say about this and how you feel about these fish. And I know a lot of people love them, and I don't know if a lot of people know that they're a very complex species of fish. I mean, not the flowerhorn, but the 3 fish that they come from. What's very interesting when you kind of learn about them and like their biodiversity. But again, with the flowerhorn, it comes down to responsible fish keeping, and and some people fight these fish too. I know a lot of people really get into these really super aggressive cichlids, and I think I've seen IFG, he did a breakdown of a piranha eating an Oscar video. If you guys want to go check that out. But yeah, a lot of people, they get these fish just to fight them too. So again, let me know what your thoughts are about this, and I'm out. Peace.
design was inspired and dedicated to Frank. May you rest in peace. Go check out the King of DIY's series on his pet flower horn named Frank if you already haven't.